Hello everyone and welcome to Overreacted. Today we are starting a new series called React Interview Questions, in which I'm going to take the most asked React interview questions and decode those for you. I'm starting with the very first question: what is virtual DOM? So if you have ever given a React interview or a front-end interview, this question must have been asked to you: what is virtual DOM? So in this video, I'm going to decode this concept and explain it very clearly in depth. If you've heard of the terms render engine, browser components, and you're not clear how these align with the virtual DOM and what is the need of virtual DOM, why DOM fails, and such other questions. So stick with this video and I'm sure you will be clear by the end. So without any further delay, let's start virtual DOM in React. Before jumping on to virtual DOM, you should be clear with these stuff. What is browser structure? What is rendering engine? What is critical rendering path? And why not just use DOM? So let's start with this. We have a browser structure. Most of the famous browsers that you use, whether it is Google Chrome or it is Safari, Mozilla Firefox or Edge, these browsers have these components in common: the user interface, the browser engine, the rendering engine, networking layer, JavaScript interpreter, UI backend, and data persistence. Let's see each of these components individually. The first component is user interface. Anything that you see on your screen, be it the search bar that you see or the home icon, the bookmarks icon, the forward button, the backward button, everything that you see on your screen comes under the user interface part of the browser. The next we have is this browser engine. Now browser engine acts as a bridge between the rendering engine and the user interface. All the actions that render engine has to take must go through the browser engine towards the user interface. So this acts as a bridge between the user interface and the rendering engine. The next component is render engine, and this is our most important part. This is the elephant in the room. This is solely responsible for HTML parsing, XML parsing, the layout process, and painting the UI on the screen. So today we are going to focus on this render engine very much. The next we have a networking layer. You must be aware of the HTTP requests that we make, the FTP protocols. There are the fetch requests that we make in our browser. All those are handled by the networking layer of your browser. Then we have JavaScript interpreter. As the name is very much clear, it interprets the JavaScript. Whatever JavaScript code you write in your browser, that is handled by this JavaScript interpreter. It is parsed and executed, and then it is provided to the engine. So this is handled by JavaScript interpreter. Next up we have UI backend. But before this, I have a very interesting question. Is JavaScript a compiled language or is it a interpreted language? Now that's a very interesting question that you should ask, and you can research more on this. But this video is not about compilation or interpretation. Let's focus on UI backend here. UI backend is more OS dependent. It depends which operating system you use, and this is mainly used for drawing combo boxes and windows, and this is connected with the user interface of your browser. Next up, we have a data persistence layer here. Now all those cookies that is stored in your browser, all the session tokens and all the data that your browser is using is handled by this data persistence layer here, and this is accessible by the browser engine. So these are the components that we have in a browser. Next up, let's look rendering engine, the most important component that we are discussing today. Before moving forward, if you didn't understand all the components in the browser, you don't have to worry because those are not important. Only remember that there is a rendering engine in your browser. Now let's change the slide. There are 4 important steps in the rendering engine. The first step is parsing HTML and the CSS to construct DOM tree and CSS OM tree. Next is render tree construction. Third is layout of the render tree. And finally, painting the render tree. So these 4 steps that we have in our render engine. Whenever we request any HTML file, for example, if we click on the index.html, that is called requesting the HTML file. These 4 basic steps are followed by the rendering engine. Let's look at these one by one. Let's start with the first step of rendering engine. So when you click on the index.html file, now the render engine will request the contents of the HTML file, and the networking layer will help here. The networking layer will start sending the contents in chunks, in 8 kilobytes of chunks to the rendering engine. Now once all the content is received in chunks, then it starts parsing the document. Now what happens in parsing? Tokens are created. These token contains the information of HTML tags. So then tokens are created. These tokens contain the information of our HTML elements, and these tokens are then converted into objects, the JavaScript objects that you use in the curly braces. These are the information of the elements, the relationship between any two nodes, such as the div is the child element of the body here. Similarly, this label is a child element of div. So these kind of information is held in these objects here, and these objects acts as nodes. Now each of this body, head, HTML, link, these here are node for the document object model. These acts as a node in this tree, and in this manner a DOM tree is created. Now once the DOM tree is created, we have all the content for our HTML. We have the welcome to here, we have overreacted, we have home. These three text are on my screen now. But what about the style? I have given it some style, right? How is my style created? How is my style T created? That is created by CSS OM, which is known as CSS, which is Cascading Style Sheet Object Model. Let's see how Cascading Style Sheet Model is created. In a similar manner, for our contents, when tokens were created, in the style sheet, tokens are again created and objects are created which contain now the style. If you see here, this body element here, it has a font size of 16 pixel. Now this is stored in the object which acts as a node for this body in the CSS OM tree. Now this image has a font size of 16 pixel, a height of 100 pixel, and opacity of 0.5. Similarly, style is associated with these elements. You notice there is not, the div element is missing here because it doesn't have any style, so it is not included in the CSS OM. So once the CSS OM is constructed, we have two things with us. The first is DOM, which contain all the content of my HTML page. The second is CSS OM, which contain all the style for my HTML page. Now we have two separate things. We have to combine these two. Now how will this happen? This happens in the second step of our rendering engine, which is to create a render tree. Till now, let me just recap what just happened. The render engine requested the index.html file. The network layer sent the contents of the index.html file in chunks of 8 kilobyte to the render engine. Once it received all the contents, it created a document object model by creating tokens of the content of the HTML elements. The tokens are then converted into objects. These object contains the information of the HTML content. And similarly, a CSS object model is created which contains the style for those nodes. Now we have two different trees. We are going to combine this into one render tree. Render tree is the second step of our rendering engine. So you see here we have a DOM and we have a CSS object model. Now render engine will start traversing from this the very first root node of document object model, and it will look for the corresponding style in the CSS object model. You see there are no styles for HTML, so it will ignore this. So it will now move to head. Mostly head has invisible content. It has meta tags and links which are not visible on the screen, so it won't be included in the render tree. Similarly, if any element has display property as none, so suppose there is any element which has a display property of none, then this won't be included in the render tree as well. Next up we have body. So here you see in the CSS object model we have font size 16 pixel associated with my body. So this is rendered here. As you can see in the render tree, body has a font size of 16 pixel. Similarly, once the render engine traverses through the DOM and applies the corresponding style from the CSS object model, and finally we have our render tree. Now the step 2 of my rendering engine is also completed. Now we have to create the layout and paint it on the screen. The step 3 of my render engine is to create the layout of the render tree. What do you mean by layout? So what happens when we created the render tree, we have the content. Now we have the content, and for content we have style as well. But let us say I have a screen of 55 inch, I have a screen of 1024 pixel. Where is my div going to be located? What will be the size of my div? All this needs to be calculated, right? So this is done in the step 3 of the render engine, which is to calculate the size and the exact coordinates. So imagine your screen to be a graph, and these divs, the elements of the HTML, needed to be placed on the graph. So coordinates and size is determined in the layout step, which is the third step of the render tree. So after the completion of third step of my render engine, we have content, we have style, we have size and coordinate on the screen for each of the element. Now we just have to call the paint action. So there is a paint method in our engine which paints the complete UI on the screen. So at the exact coordinate, at the exact size, with appropriate style, the content is pasted on my screen, and this is done by the paint method. So far you have seen that there are so many methods to do. like there are 4 steps that needs to be followed whenever we render something on the screen. So this is the issue with the DOM. So if you ask, why not just use DOM? Why do we need a virtual DOM? React is fast, we all know, but why React is fast? Because we are using a virtual DOM. Why was there a need to use a virtual DOM, to conceptualize virtual DOM? Because DOM is slow. Well, many developers say that manipulation of DOM is slow. This is incorrect. Manipulation of DOM is not at all slow. It's the rendering which follows after each manipulation that happens, because you just saw there are so many steps involved in the rendering of UI. So these steps have to be followed again and again whenever we manipulate our document object model. So whenever we change the content in our document, the DOM is again constructed and this rendering happens. Now this makes the DOM slower. So imagine there is a list, there is a huge list that I have, which has hundreds of an array of, let us say, an array of people, which has like hundreds of names. Now even if I change just one name out of this 100 of names, the whole document will be again recreated and this whole list will be repainted on the screen, and this 4 steps of my rendering engine needs to be followed. So this takes a lot of time, and that is why DOM is slower. So to overcome all this, we have our superhero, and that is virtual DOM. Now what exactly is virtual DOM? Virtual DOM is a concept brought by Facebook. So virtual DOM, the very few important things about virtual DOM are that virtual DOM exists in the memory. It is never painted on the screen. There is always an actual DOM which is painted on the screen. So if someone is saying that React uses virtual DOM to paint on the screen, that is incorrect. It is the DOM, the real DOM, which is painted on the screen. Virtual DOM is just like a blueprint of the real DOM. So there is a DOM, the tree that we just saw, its copy is known as virtual DOM. So virtual DOM is like a blueprint of the actual DOM which exists in the memory of React, and it is synchronized, it is synced using libraries such as React DOM. You must have seen this library if you have ever created a React application. We use React DOM. So there are elements in React elements. If you have used React, you must have seen React.create element, right? It looks like this, React.create element. So whenever we create an element, that element is put in the DOM tree and it is synchronized with the DOM using React DOM library. So this happens inside React. Now we know basics of virtual DOM. Now let's see how virtual DOM exactly works. So whenever we update anything in our React, in our document, basically, it doesn't directly gets updated in the document object model, which we just saw in the previous case, in the case of actual DOM. Instead, we have 2 virtual DOMs. Now, whenever I made a change, 2 exact replicas are created of the DOM. Now let us say this is virtual, let me just move down a bit. This is virtual DOM 1 and this is virtual DOM 2. Let me just bring the diagram here. As you can see, there are 2 virtual DOMs on our screen. This previous virtual DOM with the text welcome to overreacted was already there, and I changed the overreacted to overreacted channel. You can see down here, this was changed to overreacted channel. So I made this change. So the moment I made this change, a second virtual DOM tree was created. This virtual DOM 2 was created and this change was applied to this. Now a diffing algorithm is there by React. Now with the diffing algorithm, these 2 DOM trees are compared, and after comparing, the React realized that there is a node which needs to be changed, but there is only one node which needs to be changed. And let us say I made 100 of such changes in my React file. So this will find the minimum number of steps. Okay, let me take the pencil first. So it will find the minimum number of steps. Now what is the minimum number of steps? This is the minimum number of steps required to bring those changes in the actual DOM. So if you see here, this virtual DOM 1 still resonates with the actual DOM, and virtual DOM 2 is updated. And comparing the 2 DOMs, we found the differences, and with the diffing algorithm, we found the minimum number of steps required to bring those changes. Now we have minimum number of steps required. Now what React will do in the reconciliation step of React, it will send all those changes. Let us say there are X number of steps. It will change all those X number of steps in one batch to the actual DOM. So this method is known as patching. So it will patch. Here you can see this is known as patching. So React virtual DOM will patch the actual DOM with a batch of changes. All these changes are applied in one event loop in one go. So what happens if we just apply all the changes in one go? My UI is rendered only once, and hence, since for hundreds of such changes my UI is repainted only once, React is very fast. I hope you are clear till here that what happened. I'll just repeat again. Let me take a fresh canvas here. I'll repeat what happened. So there are two virtual DOMs. How these are created? Okay, where is the text? There are two virtual DOMs. How these two DOMs are created? So React has a render method. So the first time render method is called, the actual DOM tree is created and a virtual DOM tree is created. But the moment you make any change, instead of blindly updating the DOM tree, React instead made a copy of this virtual DOM known as virtual DOM 2. Now we have two virtual DOMs and one actual DOM. Using the diffing algorithm, these two virtual DOMs were compared using diffing algorithm, and minimum number of steps were found to make the changes in DOM 2 in virtual DOM 1. Now these changes are then sent to the actual DOM for patching. This is known as patching, and hence in this manner the DOM is updated. So what happens if while updating my DOM some other changes are made? So those changes are sent in the next batch and the cycle continues so on. So this is what happens inside virtual DOM, and this is why it is fast. So I hope you are clear till here that why React's virtual DOM is very fast. Now let's look at the React documentation for reconciliation. Let's go to React conciliation algorithm. So if you open up the documentation and read this thing here, let me open this. You see that even the state of the art algorithm to find the minimum number of steps has a complexity of big O of n cube, which means that displaying 1000 elements will require 1 billion comparisons, which is very expensive. We can't afford that in today's world. Like, user has to wait a lot of time to get the UI updated. So therefore React uses a heuristic O of n algorithm based on two assumptions. The first assumption is that two different type of elements will produce different trees. So in this tree that we have here, so if I change this paragraph tag here to something else, let us say image or something, let us say a div, then the child tree from here will be repainted. So this is the first assumption. The second assumption is the developer can hint at which child elements may be stable across different renders with a key prop, which means that if you have ever created a React application, you must have seen that warning in your browser, in your console, which says that a key attribute needs to be provided for if you are mapping through an array or if you are creating a list. Why this happens? That whenever we call the render method again, React see that if an element is not changed by comparing the key property of two elements. So if key property of previous state is equal to key property of the current state, then this particular component is ignored and continued to the next component. So this makes the algorithm very fast. And therefore it is recommended to always use unique keys while mapping your array or while creating a list to make the algorithm fast, so that your UI can be repainted very fast. So these are the two assumptions that React takes to make its algorithm linear, and hence the speed is increased. So this was all about virtual DOM. I hope you are clear. Let us just recap what we studied. Virtual DOM stays in the memory and it is synced with the actual DOM with a library known as React DOM. At any point of time, there are two virtual DOMs. One DOM is the exact replica of my actual DOM, and the second virtual DOM contains the changes that we just made. Now, using heuristic algorithm with two assumptions, the two assumptions that I just told you, React finds the minimum number of steps required to bring the changes in the actual DOM, and then it sends the changes in a batch to update the actual DOM. Manipulating DOM is not slow, it's the rendering which is a pain. So this is all about virtual DOM So before going, I like to give an example of this which I read on Stack Overflow. Suppose you have a room and you want to move your furnitures around. So today you moved your sofa, tomorrow you want to move your dining table, next day you want to move your chair. So every day you have to move all the like furnitures to get a perfect layout. So you have to move every furniture every day. So what you decided, you took a blueprint of your house and you made all the arrangements one day, stating that this furniture will look better here. And once you made all the changes, you decided that you just have to move two furnitures and all the changes will be done. So you found the minimum number of steps required to create the layout in the blueprint, not actually move the furniture. Now when you decided the minimum number of steps required to move the furniture, you then went on in your living room and changed the layout. This is how virtual DOM also works. I hope I am clear with the concept here, and if you have any doubt, please comment, I'll reply for sure. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed my channel, please subscribe, and I'll be back with more such React interview questions in which I'll explain them in detail. Thank you for watching Overreacted. Take care. Bye.